What will make you successful? Is it the skills that you have? Or how you position yourself? Or a mix of both? Or just destiny? What is it? Because when I was sitting down to make this video, I legit had no plans or a list to talk to you about. But I was thinking about this. And most of the people who make these quote unquote educational videos or inspiring videos or whatever you want to call them, they usually tell you as if they have everything figured out. I still haven't figured everything out. I'm still figuring this out. I am in a good place. I have a great, very happy and content job that I'm continuously progressing at, but I still haven't figured out what I'm going to talk about right now. And I'm sharing the thoughts and my experiences and the questions that I have because let's assume on this scale I'm here and I want to get here. I'm here. Some of you who are watching this might be over here and can learn from this much of my experience. And then somebody who is ahead of me here can listen to this much of my experience and they can add to theirs. And maybe if you are ahead of me in this journey called life, and if you listen to something that I say and you think of something that can help me or anybody reading the comments, put down in the comments what you think of after you listen to this. I was thinking about this 5 minutes ago about why is someone successful the way they are successful? And we're going to touch on this topic from different angles. So whether you are a young creative artist, and when I say young, I mean young in the game of artistry and of your career, of in making what you want to make out of your life, not necessarily of your age. It could be your age, but somebody could be 40 and could have been doing creative things for the last 5 years, so they're still young creative. But also, obviously, I know a few people who are watching this who are young in age as well and young creatives as well. So broadly, my thought today was, what are some things that make someone successful? Is it their skills? Is it how they position themselves? Or is it just good marketing? Is it faking until you make it? What is it? So I'm going to draw some things that come to my mind, and then I'm going to talk about this particular topic, about some questions that I have and the things that have helped me along the way to be where I am right now. And I feel my skills are a portion of it, but it's not everything. So today I'm thinking to draw or sketch with a Sharpie instead of a pencil. And like I've said in the last video, that I have indirectly kind of pushed myself to not erase, even if when I draw with a pencil. So drawing with a Sharpie, obviously I cannot erase. So we'll see how it goes. In the last video, when I was drawing, I was intersecting each shape, meaning whatever shape I was drawing, I was making two shapes just cross each other. In this video, in today's art, I'm gonna keep it as if no shape will intersect each other. And I don't have a clear theme for what I want to do right now, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So when I was thinking of people who are successful, are they successful just because they are extremely skilled? Or are they the top 1% or 5% of what they do? Most of the cases, I would say no. A lot of cases, yes, but I've seen a lot of people who are not really the expert of their craft, but first of all, they positioned themselves a lot. Positioned themselves a lot, meaning they have had enough to-dos, enough tries compared to someone who's way more skilled than them but haven't tried as much as them. There is a very famous quote that talks about a champion is nothing special, and champion is just a loser who tried one more time. So I don't want this overall idea to be, oh, someone's successful just because they didn't quit and kept going, because I feel there's more to that. This is not just that, but that is a big aspect of why someone's very successful at what they do. I'm touching on this topic the first because in my mind, I always knew that I have it in me, which will give me this, whatever this is. But first, I waited it to be perfect, and then I waited for an easy path, a clear path, devoid of any doubt, devoid of any criticism. And like I've said before, that kept me still and full of doubt for 8 years, while this video could have been made 8 years ago. So what I was saying is, a major aspect of what makes somebody successful is the fact that they have had more at-bats, as we say in American tradition, meaning somebody has tried way more times, and that's why they have, number one, more experience in dealing with what they want to do. So they have more data with, oh, if I do this, this has more chances to work. If I do this, this is not going to give me the kind of result, the quality of result, and the calculated, expanded result that I want. And they collect all the data, and then if they're smart, they focus on what's working more along the direction of where they want to go. Because frankly, you can make anything work in any direction. And there are several ways of doing that. For example, if you go online and you search about, oh, what is the best way to make money? Most of the people will tell you, and which is true, is the best way to make money in the terms of ease and scaling is something digital, something information based, where you don't have to sell physical products. For example, if I'm going to sell this marker, it involves the customer paying me, and then I have to package it nicely, put a label in it, pay for the label, go to the post office, post it, pay money for that. It takes a few days to go there. So a physical product has its own problems, this and that. But if I have to teach somebody about how to make a marker, if I know how to do that, they can pay me and I can tell them it's information. I can have it recorded, they pay, and they get it instantly. So, and that can be scaled, because if I have a course on making markers, I have it online and I can show it to as many eyes as I want to, and then they can pay for it if they're interested in it or they see value in it, and then they can get the information right then and there when they pay, and then it can be worldwide. I don't have to worry about shipping, this and that. So my point being, if you go online and if you see what's the best way and the most efficient way and the most scalable way of earning money in comparison to a physical product, they'll always talk about a digital product or some sort of info product or a course or whatever. But there are hundreds and hundreds of companies, for example, Sharpie, which when I will edit this video, I will put on the screen how much this company is worth. I'm guessing at least $6 to $10 billion. But this is a physical product. And they have to maintain the quality, everything has to be shipped on time, blah, blah, blah. So coming back to my original point, you can make anything work. It could be this, it could be that. You might not be interested in selling Sharpies, but the Sharpie company is making billions selling this. Going back to my earlier point, the people who are successful, when they do a lot of work towards making something work, they have more data, so they choose what is working. And if they're smart, they narrow down their focus towards what is working in the direction of where they want to go. Because you can make anything work, so they choose what they want to make work. So maybe the guy who founded Sharpie would have tried other things before, but he saw the Sharpie market working and he was interested in those, so he started doing that. So the data point is very important, because they know what's working and what's not. But also, and like I said earlier, there are different aspects of someone being successful. And frankly speaking, it could be unlimited different things for different people. But when they do that, which I just talked about, when they go into one direction and do a lot of work, not only gives them a lot of data to work with, so they choose what is working, but they also decrease their hesitation towards going out and failing towards something. And what I'll try to do is when I am going to put any point forward, I try to always give a personal example. So, my personal example in this case is because for 8 years I was waiting for the perfect camera or the perfect ingredients of a video. Oh, how much time I'm gonna put in editing. I should have a lot of effects in editing. I should have different kinds of lighting in editing, this and that. And I was also so worried about what other people are going to think of when I'm going to make the video, like my friends from school and college, that I was so paralyzed with doubt and judgment that I didn't take an effect in action for 8 years. And now that I have taken action, I am just wishing to go back to my past in 8 years, and I'm thinking, why didn't I do this before? But a different point from my current topic is, and in fact, I was talking about this with one of my coworkers, is every time we look back, we often think of, oh man, I wish I would have gone back and corrected that mistake. But there is a very famous analogy that comes from a lot of movies that talk about time travel, is that if you will actually go back and correct all the mistakes that you think are mistakes, and you correct all the mistakes, there is a big possibility that you will actually end up erasing yourself and you would not even exist in the present time. Meaning, that the understanding of things that I have right now, or the lessons that I have absorbed from the good things and the bad things in life that has happened with me, it's all because of all the bad things that in my eyes are bad that happened to me. So regardless of how old you are, you could be 13, you could be 40, you could be 45, looking back, the things that you think were actually bad things, they all serve the purpose for you. About 5 years ago, for a stint of 4 years, so from 2016 to 2020, I was struggling with money. And again, in my eyes, from my perspective, I'm better than that time, but I still have a long way to go, 100%. But I'm definitely better from that point in time. So from 2016 to 2020, I was having difficulty managing money, earning money, because I had a different mindset. And I was doing 3 different jobs when I was in Chicago. So those times of struggle have now given me this unusual appreciation for hard work and not wasting money. I'm in no way a saint right now, and I still have a lot of things to overcome and get better with money for sure. But all those experiences when I was in Chicago doing 3 different jobs gave me a different perspective about earning money and not wasting money. I clearly remember a time, and I have it in my notes in my phone, a note from 2015 or 2014, sometime around that time, when I wrote down this note that I didn't have money for groceries for tomorrow. So I just noted it down, and I don't forget that usually. I try to remember that. And because of that, a lot of times when I am, let's say, uh, eating some sort of food or with coworkers or with anybody else, I usually clean my plate completely. I don't have even one single grain of food left in my plate after I am done eating. So I often get asked if I'm too hungry for more food, or why is it like that? If I am too hungry or if I want more food, but that's usually not the case. I have a different appreciation for food, and I try not to waste even one bite of food, because I remembered that time when I was not sure if I will have money for food tomorrow. And this is probably the first time I'm discussing it publicly, because everybody is kind of embarrassed of sharing their core struggles, the things that almost broke you down to bits. People usually don't love to talk about their struggles, but I think that was an important point to talk about. That is why I try not to waste food when I'm eating, or I try not to waste the groceries that I bring the store, because I remember that day or that time when I was not sure about eating tomorrow. So let's check if this phone's recording or not. All right, it's recording. Yep. So that was one of the side points of this conversation, was things that you often think are mistakes or struggles might actually be a big boon or a big advantage for you in hindsight. And that's actually, this is very well represented by a quote from Steve Jobs that he said during some sort of graduation speech. It's actually a very famous video where he said that you can't really connect the dots looking forward. You always connect the dots looking backwards. Meaning, you look back the last few years of your life, and you will connect with this more if you are in your 30s and the 40s and beyond. So if you are younger than 20 years old, this might be a concept you may understand or you might not understand. But the quote that Steve Jobs said about looking back and connecting the dots is when you look back at your life for 5, 10, 15 years back, and then you think about all the good things in life and the bad things in life, you will realize a lot of different things, but you'll realize majorly two things. Is one, you will tend to remember the bad things more surely than the good things. A lot of good things you will actually have to sit down and think about it, and they will be quote unquote blurry. But a lot of bad things that happen to you, you will remember very clearly. And the second point, and the more important point, is that think about those bad things and think about them deeply. And very carefully take out the emotion from that event, put it aside, and think about what that bad event actually made you do, or what that bad event lead to in terms of actions and events. And you would realize that that bad event or those bad events actually had a very important role to play in terms of where you are right now. And from a neutral perspective, from a grand scale of things, nothing is good or bad at all. And I was told this to me when I was in 10th grade by my science teacher. He actually, what he did was he took out a pen from his pocket and he asked the whole class, is this pen good or bad? And most of the people were like, what kind of question is it? I think it's good. But he said, the pen is neither good or bad. It totally depends on how you use it. Meaning, you can use this to write a verse from a holy book, but you can also use it to write a curse word towards somebody or write some bad things about somebody. So, but on a neutral perspective, this pen is neither good or bad. The same thing is with any event that has happened in your life and in my life. So that event per se is not good or bad. It's how we perceive it and what kind of emotion that we attach to that event. That is why, looking back, we realize that a lot of things that we considered bad or horrendous or a bad luck at that time were actually not like that. And when we are talking about the qualities or the traits or the things that make somebody successful, this is another thing that makes them more susceptible towards success, is when they actually have to take an action that they know is going to take them closer to where they want to be. They actually separate the emotion from how they feel and from the action that they have to take, and then they take the action regardless of how they're feeling in that moment or how they are feeling about that action. And once they do that, they get very close or they get ahead than other people who in that moment would fold because of however they feel. And this is the reason why you would see it in movies or actually any successful operator, and it's portrayed very well in the movies if you pay close attention, that people who are just absolute killers in whatever they do, damn, it got moved. The people who are absolute killers in whatever they do, they often work with people that they like or dislike. It doesn't matter to them. If they think this person, whoever they are going to work with, they feel like this person is actually an important piece of the action that they have to take or the direction that they want to go, regardless of if they love that person or hate that person, they work with that person. And it's portrayed well in the movies. That's why I was quoting that example. But if you know somebody who operates a business, or if you are someone who has operated a business for a long time, or you are in a high position in a very big business, which I very well know a person that I talk to on Instagram who is watching this he doesn't own a business, but he is on a very high level of a big business. And I'm pretty sure he deals with people on a daily basis that he doesn't like. But he knows that he has to deal with those people if he has to be practical and real and successful in the real world. That brings me to my next point about being successful in real life. And again, I'm going to iterate this point probably more than any other point across all my videos. I would tell you when I'm at and I will tell you if I am a master at something. I will tell you if I'm a master at something. For example, when it comes to drawing, I am a master at drawing. I can draw anything in the world, any style, anything. But this point that I'm going to talk about right now, I'm not a master at that. I'm still learning that. And I'll tell you, when it comes to this point that I'm going to talk about, comparing yourself to somebody else, especially for this particular point, is not a good idea because it is so subjective. The point is, you have to deal with things that you don't like in order to get the things that you actually like. Take anything worthwhile in your life that you feel like you had to work for. And I'm pretty sure that thing that you achieved, that you are proud of, and that you had to put some sort of effort for, that came with a season of things that you liked and you didn't like. And it's a mix of those. Having a smooth path to something that's worth having is extremely, extremely, extremely rare. Either somebody gets rarely lucky, or there are other factors which give them a jump start or make their path smoother. But if you're coming from a neutral standpoint, and if you want something that is worthwhile, and I'm already thinking of 3, 4, 5, 6 people that I sent the link to of my first video, the video before this. And I'm thinking about them right now. And I know their story, and I know how they started, and I know the struggles they faced. But when you look at their current situation, you will feel like, oh, they're so good at what they did. And one of my friends who I'm thinking of right now, he is a very fit guy, and he's a real estate agent, but he also has his other business going on. When you look at him, when I looked at him in my first meeting with him, I thought that, oh my God, this dude is like just so naturally good at everything. Maybe he was so lucky in everything. But as I talked to him more and more, and I was getting to know his story, I realized how much he struggled. And he just ate through so many difficult seasons in his life. Similar story with another gentleman that I respect a lot, who has a coffee brand and also does hair repair on the side. Same thing with him. When you look at him right now, and I say this because I used to be so naive when I used to look at either like worldwide successful people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or other people who everybody knows. But I'm also talking in terms of like when I talked about the scale of life or the scale of success, like here I am, and I'm talking about my experiences which could benefit the people who are behind me. But I'm talking about people who are ahead of me in my scale, from my perspective. When I looked at them, when I looked at this gentleman who has this coffee brand, I used to think, oh my God, he's so successful, and it's just so natural to him. It might be so easy for him, and his coffee tastes good, and he has so much distribution, this and that. And I was like, man, this was so easy for him. But as I talked to him more and more, I realized, damn, it was not the case at all. It was not the case at all. And I was so naive. I was so naive. But my point being, if you are really of a person of a young age, meaning like you, if you're anything below 30 or anything below 20, you have to accept this fact that a very easy life, which I personally always wanted in the get-go, is not a realistic expectation unless you are born in a wealthy neighborhood, I meant a wealthy house. So just accept the fact that you would have to deal with a lot of bad. I wouldn't even say bad. I would say you would have to deal with a lot of things that you, quote unquote, might not like to get to the things that you would like. And this is a very, very common trait in people who actually succeed. This is kind of interesting. I was again thinking that I would color this, but this has gone way longer than I expected. So maybe I'll put the coloring thing to the next video. But one of the other things that I wanted to touch about when it comes to being successful is, and this is again stemming from my own story, is anybody you take that you know personally, like let's say sit with yourself or your parent or whoever it is, or just think of 5 names that you know personally on a personal basis that you think are super successful, and then take those exact industries or exact business or exact skill set and think about all the people in your life. I'm pretty sure you will find at least one person similar to all those 5 people that are more talented, if not equally talented than those people, but they're not as successful as those 5 people that you named in the first place. And what's the reason behind that? Because the way I am drawing right now on paper, I was still able to draw like this 5 years ago, even I would say 10 years ago. I've gotten better, of course, but when it comes to drawing on paper, I was very, very skilled even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Of course, I have learned a lot about digital art in the last 5 to 10 years, but on paper, I was equally as talented. I mean, slightly less, but let's say for discussion's sake, I was equally as talented as what I am right now 5, 10 years ago. So why didn't I get the success, or I wouldn't say success, but why didn't I achieve the same level of quote unquote success, or wherever I am on the levels of success 5 or 10 years ago if I had the same level of skill? It's because, and you would see the same answer in those people too if you come up with 5 people that we talked about just now, is because they feel like the opportunity that they have to get to this particular level that's ahead of them will come nicely in a big wrapped box with nice colors and a big note saying, hey, you have been handpicked for this opportunity and I'm not going to consider anybody else but you. Come, go ahead and audition for this opportunity, and then regardless of what you do, we're going to take you. Another thing that I wasted a good decade of my life on. If you're young in age, save this in your brain forever. And this very well circles back to the first point we discussed about how successful people try this and try that and try this and try that, try this and that, and then they get a lot of data about what's working, what's not. So coming to the point that I'm talking about right now, because the people who are successful develop this ability to deal with the things that they don't like, they try more things. And they try almost every opportunity. If it looks like crap, or if it looks great, wrapped with a ribbon on a box. So what happens is, they try everything. And they don't wait for the perfect opportunity. And what happens most of the times, an opportunity that doesn't even look like a big opportunity sneaks in, and because they try their hand at everything, they try that opportunity and it ends up becoming something good. And like I said, I wasted such a long time, so many years, because I wanted to try my hand at the perfect opportunity. This will probably be one of my top lessons that I've learned from 20 years of doing this. Is when it comes to your career, when it comes to your art, when it comes to your growth, try everything. If it doesn't hurt you, or if it doesn't have a permanent negative implication on your life, if you're not, for example, if you're not going to spend a lot on this, if you just have to try and it doesn't cost you too much in terms of effort, time, money, or favors, try everything. Damn, I can feel that in my gut, that the way I try things now, if I would have tried 10, 20, 15 years ago, I would be somewhere else. I look at those people on YouTube. For example, you're watching this on YouTube. I look at those people on YouTube. In fact, I looked at someone about 20 minutes before I started making this video. I was watching this video, and that video had 80 million views, 80 million views on this one video which was posted 1 year ago. It was a comedic video, it was a comedy skit. But I was like, wow, this video has 80 million views. Damn, he's so lucky. But then I looked at his subscribers. His subscribers were 30.5 million subscribers, and he has been doing the video work for the last 14 years. And then I looked at myself, and this video that I'm talking about, which I have been wanting to do for the last 8 years, this is my second video. And I had a little bit of anger towards myself. Like, why didn't I do this 8 years ago? Even if I would have done one video per week, that makes up 52 videos a year. 52 into 8 is 416. 416 videos in those 8 years. But to our point earlier, maybe me not making those videos for whatever indecision I had or my inaction made me learn a few things along the way, because of which I am making this video right now and I'm talking to you right now, which will hopefully change the course of the life that I am to live, and hopefully changes the course of life that you have to live, or changes the course of your creative bent towards life or your creative mindset. Because I'll highlight this again, I have a very content job where I love doing what I do, and I absolutely love the challenges and the growth that I have and the people I work with and all of that stuff. So I'm not selling you anything at all. I wish I would have talked to myself about this topic, to myself 8 years ago, and to you 8 years ago, and life would be different. But it isn't, so we have to accept it and move on with the best course that we could. I'll also tell you this. When I was in Chicago and I used to do different kinds of jobs, and almost all of those jobs involved me talking to people. So, over the course of about 4.5 years, if I have to approximate the amount of people, and if I have to guess the amount of people, the number of people that I talked to one on one on an intimate setting, meaning there was no disturbance and I was talking to that person, if in a car or in a building or whatever the case may be, I am always interested toward learning the point of views of other people. Meaning, especially when I used to meet anybody above 40 years of age and who have been doing any sort of business or have stuck to one job for more than a decade. And these two conditions were independent of each other. So I talked to a lot of people who were 40, 50, 60, 70, and they necessarily didn't stick to something for a long time. And then there were other people who were 40 plus, but they had some sort of business or they stuck to a good high level job for more than 10, 20, 15 years. I used to always ask them these two questions. And I feel, regardless of your age, regardless of your job, regardless of your gender, regardless of where you are seeing it in the world and what time of the day you're seeing this, what job you have, regardless of anything, this applies to you and applies to me. And I always keep this close to my heart. So I used to always ask them these two questions, especially 40 plus people, but I used to majorly ask everybody. The first question was, what is the idea of happiness according to you? What is the definition of a happy life according to you? And the second question was, what would be an advice or a few advices that you would give that 26-year-old version of yourself? And because these people were 40, 50, 60, 70, sometimes 80, I've met some 80-year-old people too, they would have 10 years going back, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of going back to their 20-year-old self to give that answer to the question number 2. So I used to ask them these two questions, and I used to always really listen and pay attention to the answers they used to give. And I'm going to tell you, my 4 years of talking to more than 10,000 or 20,000 people, because I talked to people of both genders, of different socioeconomic status, and people from different countries, people earning different kinds of money, have different kind of life experiences, their answers for each of the questions were very, 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 very different. But if you would narrow it down and kind of filter it down, they always used to come to this one particular thing for both the two answers. So in summary, they always used to give different answers, but it always used to boil down to this one thing for both of these questions. So the first question was, what is the idea of a good, happy life for them? And regardless of whether you completely agree with this or not, this was their answer. And all of those 10,000 or so answers boiled down to this one thing. Their idea of a happy life consisted of two things. One, spending time with the people that they love. That included their family and friends. Usually they talked about their close family, meaning your first blood relatives, like your spouse, your father, your mother, your sisters, your brothers. That was the first half of their happy life. And the second part of their happy life was doing some sort of meaningful work. And meaningful work is different for everybody. That's why I said it boiled down to this one thing, but it was different for everybody. And you can agree with this or not, but I am a living proof of talking to more than 10,000 people, and their idea of a happy life consisted of one, spending more time and quality time with their family, immediate family. A lot of people said friends, but family was the most common thing. And the second half was doing some sort of meaningful work, which was meaningful in their own eyes. So you define meaningful for you, and that would it be for you. The second question was, what is the advice that you would give to your 20-year-old self or your younger self? And a lot of people are 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, so they had 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of going back, and they've lived enough life. And surprisingly enough, this was the answers that amazed me the most. Because when I used to ask them about the first question, which was, what is a happy life? What is a happy life for you? What is an idea of happy life for you? It was two parts, like spending time with their family versus, and also doing some sort of meaningful work. But when I asked them about this advice of giving advice to their younger self, asking more than 10,000 people, it always boiled down to this one thing where they said, I wish I would have taken more risks. I wish I would have done blank. I wish I would have done more of blank. A lot of people were working 40, 50 years, 30 years, 20 years in one particular industry, and they really wanted to do something else. I wasted close to 16 years of my life doing something else, preparing for something else, putting an effort towards something else, which was dentistry, which I still to this day don't hate. But I absolutely love what I'm doing right now. Talking about my experiences, creating art, different forms of art, tangible, digital art, and actually trying to share my experience to inspire even one soul in this world. If one kid listens to what I have to say and what I will keep saying, and they save the 10 years of their lives, like how I wasted 10 years of my life, I feel the purpose of my life would be served. So taking the answers from 10,000 people and combining my personal experience, I have absolute surety of this thing that not doing what you really want to do is the biggest regret that I have and that most people have. I have talked to a lot of people about this, especially people who are really successful in my eyes. Most people who are very driven or very successful, they never see themselves that way because they see how much they have to still achieve. But regardless of that, I remember this one time somebody was saying that if you really want to weigh the actual weight of regret, go to an old age home, go to a nursing home, and talk to people about what they really wanted to do in life, and they're out of time now. That is the main reason I'm making this video. For myself as well, and for you, that take this and do something with whatever you want to do in your life. I have limited myself so much because of my own doubts. And this is another disadvantage of being relatively intelligent, is that you think of so many things that might happen that would keep you from doing what you want to do. That's exactly what happened with me. And that is why I see a lot of quote unquote not smart people who take something and run with it because they don't have the expanded bandwidth to think about all the things that can go wrong. And because they have this tenacity and this grit and this stubbornness of making that thing work, they take that one thing and they just do trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, and make that thing work. This is my whole objective of making these videos. Well, for a lot of it is also like doing actually this piece of art and actually talking about my experiences is a great form of a release for me, where I legit think when I do this, this is the best time of the day for me. But also, I would say more important than that is pay attention to what I'm saying, because I'm not selling you anything at all. I have a good job, blah, 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 blah. Take my experiences, and I feel I don't have the most profound experience in the world, but I have lived enough life to tell you and remind you that whatever you're thinking of, whatever you want to do in life, the limits that you think there are your own self-imposed limits. And I would just wish and pray that at least 10 kids around the world see this and just go really hard towards what you want to make in life, and not waste years for somebody's acceptance or somebody's approval, or get paralyzed by other people's thoughts. That is the whole point of doing these videos. If I could save one creative life, if I could save one creative soul from getting wasted. The camera I was using over there is full right now, so I have to use the phone to finish my thought, which is my whole point of making these videos is to, if I can save one creative soul, one creative mind from doing something redundant or being a cog in the whole machine of this life, it will be worthwhile for me. And I was getting to the point where when I say doing something redundant to exist, to live, and to earn money, I by any means don't want to say that you don't have to earn money and you have to become just somebody who just creates art and earning money is not a big deal. Maybe you get to that stage, whatnot, but no matter what anybody says, earning money and having a good life and having a good financial base so that you can create stress free is very important. So, earning money is a great aspect of living a good life. To my earlier point, being successful has different buckets which make up you being successful. And one of them is earning good money and actually making money through the stuff that you like to do, through your creative skills and your creative mindset. So that's why I was saying half of what I'm going to talk about is would be how to actually position yourself and market yourself and to monetize what your skills can do so that you earn good money. But half of it is the mindset and the bent of mind that you need to have. And maybe you already have that and you can add to it about the mindset that creative people and successful people have, which makes them successful and also reinforces that their creativity and reinforces the belief that they have that they can actually make things and make a good life out of it and make a great career out of it. So you have to think it in those two ways majorly, and then it branches out in different topics. So half of it is your mindset towards things, like we talked about earlier, like you actually going out and trying different things so that you have different kinds of data, different kinds of examples where you don't have any hesitation towards trying new things, and then you see what's working in your direction and you go on that. And there's a lot of things under that umbrella, like not quitting and improvising, how to scale, how to actually position yourself, how to market yourself, things like that. But also, half of it is how to actually monetize your skill to earn money, to earn a good life, to make a good long term career out of it. Because whatever you are thinking to do, there's somebody out there who's earning a good life out of it. And I am going to touch on those points as I learn those things and as I share the experiences from my own journey. So think about all these things that I said. I was going into different topics, so maybe go back and listen to it, but don't forget ever to believe in yourself. Believe as if you believe that the sun rises in the east, that you're going to make it, that it's possible. And then have a plan and create. Never stop creating.